development, health promotion, and social determinants of health, Janson has led his team in establishing much-needed community support for teenagers with autism, the Autism Teenage Partnership, ATP. The program runs successfully with 25 motivated and trained university students from various disciplines that regularly support over 25 participants across the Greater Toronto Area. They have had successes as teens developed basic social skills and caregivers enjoyed much needed respite. Janson has partnered with various non-government NGOs to support at-risk children and youth for the past years, including pioneering autism awareness clubs at Western and York University. This past October, Janson led a workshop at the CNSA Ontario Regional Conference in Peterborough and is looking forward to his nursing career where he can further advocate and give voice to the disadvantaged and vulnerable populations. Please join me in welcoming our leader of tomorrow, Janson Chan.
Thank you guys so much for having me. Like I said, like the program says, my name is Janson Chan, not Jason. My mom was just telling me earlier that they named because it means spirited. It's close to the Chinese wording of spirited, enthusiastic, and motivated. So now you'll remember my name. So I just want to first thank all CNSA and the Leader of Tomorrow position for inviting me to this thing. It's a great opportunity and a great conference to showcase what students are really doing in the community. Before I start off, I want to ask you guys, who of you feel like they have not found their passion in nursing yet? Raise up your hands. Okay, so I see a couple people with their hands down, so let me ask you another question. If you guys found your passion, who of you guys feel that they haven't felt that autonomy or self-governance to actually put into practice your learning? Who feels like their as students are limited? A lot more hands. I often felt that way throughout my career. I grew up with a younger brother with autism. It gave me the perspective that autism not just affects the individual, but also the family and the community. And also what it takes for families to live seemingly normal lives with an individual with autism in their family. My talk is titled Autism in Nursing, A Journey to Social Change. I'm going to share how I use my life experience with growing up with a brother, which many people view as an obstacle, how I was able to empower my passion for something relevant and net good within the context of nursing. So, Autism Teenage Partnership. We were established in the Greater Toronto Area. We are a free social group for adolescents with autism. Our goals include having our participants gain social skills and build meaningful relationships in their own community. We are a non-academic, low-pressure environment, and we are students. We're totally grassroots, and we're run by volunteers. This is something I started in January of last year. The participants come from all over the city, some even coming from 40 minutes away, and it's one of a kind as parents receive respite from their caregiving duties. It uses a peer-to-peer model where volunteers gain and benefit from interaction with autism and gain experience of what autism is like. At the same time, participants who usually interact with older individuals, such as parents, teachers, psychologists, educators, guidance counselors, allows them to actually make relationships with people their own age about things that actually matter to them. We're supported by 4 great organizations. First of all, York University with the Faculty of Health, Milliken Park Advisory Board, which is a community association, and as well Autism Ontario, which is a charity run by all of Ontario, and our Professional Association in Ontario, Registered Nurses Association of Ontario. It's really great that they're able to support me. So far, they have supported over $3,000 for this initiative. It just shows that if you have an idea, go ahead and just be bold with it and go and find some money. So this is a picture we have. This past summer, we had a surprise birthday party for me, which I planned. This is a picture of us. We also hold many special events like holiday and Christmas parties where we make gingerbread houses and watch silly cartoons. These are pictures of our volunteers. The volunteers, again, come from a multidisciplinary background, various backgrounds including mostly nursing, but also medicine, psychology, education, early childhood education, and a lot of teachers. We even have a bank teller working with us. They're all very young, and they gain experience with exposure to people with autism for their day-to-day lives and their future practices. We also hold video game night because we are young people ourselves, and we understand the importance of technology in their lives. We're not going to deny them what they love, and this is a great opportunity to gain social skills for things, for their common interests. This is one of our participants, D. He came to our program and has few family and friends because his family refused to bring him anywhere, even to church. They were afraid that he would act out accordingly and would not be very good in the social situations. As a result, he had no close friends and no meaningful life outside the home. You can imagine how difficult this is for him as a young adult being stuck at home all the time. The family did not find a suitable program until they came to our program at ATB, where he was allowed to practice social skills and make friends, and even make a puppet theater. This is an example of how we make a difference in our community with recreation. And this past Wednesday, to celebrate Bella's Talk Day, we decided to decorate some mugs. So you can see we're going to stop the stigma and to promote mental health awareness in our own community. So many of you are probably wondering who I am and why am I up here. So my viewpoint with autism is a view of equity, where people with ASD or autism spectrum disorder are at a disadvantage, and it's us as nurses and nursing students to really fight for this social equity. So I was born and raised in Toronto. I'm also 23 years old, and this is my family. My mom is a nursing manager in public health. My dad is a manager for a pharmaceutical company in Toronto. To the top right, my little brother, Jacob, he is at university, he's at Waterloo for engineering. And in the middle is Joshua. Joshua has autism and he's currently studying at U of T for music, which is the best school for music in Canada. We are very proud of him. So, at the get-go, I knew my family was different. Joshua has autism. But to me and my family, Joshua was just my brother, no more and no less. As a young person, I often felt helpless to help him navigate these social situations, bullying, academics, and school. What spurred me to really become an advocate was during high school. I was in grade 12 and Joshua was in grade 10. I walked past a bully harassing some random kid, and I walked right by it, just like anyone else would have or could have. I learned later that the same bully was also harassing and bothering my brother, Joshua. That's sort of when it became real for me, and when I decided to take things in my own hands and not be apathetic to the whole situation, I decided to take action. This is my brothers in Montreal, and this is us a couple months ago to winning. So, I got my first degree from Western University, and I graduated in 2013, and now I'm currently studying my nursing degree at York. I was always an active member of student council, and I pioneered autism awareness clubs, where they focus on volunteerism, fundraising, and advocacy on campus and in the community. I also work with the City of Toronto Parks and Rec as a summer camp leader and a recreation staff. I've been working for the past 10 years, and I work with children and youth who are at risk in Scarborough from ages 4 to 14, and many of them with disabilities. So I was able to witness firsthand how these supports actually help them, and how they drop out after 12 years old, and how they leave them vulnerable when they become adolescents and moving towards adults, becoming adults. So growing up, I did not anticipate to find my passion, but in the end, the passion found me, and the passion is me. I took advantage of my experience with my family and in the community with my job to empower myself and to push myself to address gaps of care head on and advocate for autism and autism-related programs. So this is my brother, my inspiration for everything I do. He has Asperger's, which is under the autism spectrum disorder umbrella. When many people think of ASD, they may think of someone low functioning or savants, people who have specialized knowledge in one thing and one thing only. But in fact, there are normal people with normal problems. Josh, with the help with school, family, and friends, was able to get into youth music. I'd like to share this little clip that I have of him. My parents got word that the teachers wanted to kick him out of the school and send him to a different school for special needs. This is a big concern for him and my family because at this new school, he'd become more anxious and would act out accordingly. So my mom, using principals in nursing, advocated with the school board, the principal, and also other community advocates to advocate for a child minder for him during up to grade 3, which is very beneficial, and he was able to accommodate and move forward towards a fulfilling career. Joshua attended a similar program like Autism Teenage Partnership when he was in high school. He found his first girlfriend there, he had found his best friend there, he had a great time, and he went there almost every day after school. But what happened after grade 11 was this program moved away and it was inaccessible for us. So once again, this showed me where the support is lacking for these individuals. And I witnessed the firsthand the scarcity of these programs as well. So as Canadians and nursing students, it's important to critically reflect our own thoughts and biases as a society towards mental health and autism. So my first example is former Toronto councillor and mayoral candidate, thank goodness, Doug Ford, his comments on the Griffin Center, which is a group home for autism. He called these individuals crooks, they shouldn't be allowed on the streets. He told a parent of a child with autism to go to hell, and he just wanted it out of the telephone. Now this really shows the attitudes and stereotypes of people in power, which then influences the decisions and policies being made. The second example is a single mother and the murderous suicide of him and his son. The son is functional as a 5 to 6-year-old, and he is becoming increasingly violent. And the only way he would calm down is in the forest. In the suicide note, she cited the lack of resources as a reason for her demise. Inclusion BC even stated that this was completely preventable. My third example is that Ottawa's couple's decision to leave their son at a social service agency. They have been fighting for over 10 years, struggling with the system. He has a functional age of 2 years old. He has many comorbid disorders. He was hospitalized after taking 14 pills and found 4 kilometers away. And at that time, he was on the waiting list for Developmental Services Ontario. So as you can see, the outcome of people's discrimination, like in the first example with Doug Ford, results in the symptom of the lack of social supports. This is just a couple of examples. This is just a couple of published examples, and there are many more unpublished that would totally break your heart about autism and autism families with autism. So, autism spectrum disorder. I'm going to talk a little bit about autism and autism spectrum disorder. Now, this is not a psychology class, don't worry. I'm just going to briefly talk about it. So, autism spectrum disorder is a spectrum, which means it umbrellas over different disorders such as Asperger's, childhood dissociative disorder, autistic disorder, and pervasive developmental disorder not otherwise specified. It also means that everyone is different, and they may or may not exhibit signs of oversensitivities to sensory stimuli, language delays, comorbid disorders. They may be challenged by basic concepts, be prone to bullying, or odd or repetitive behaviors. According to the DSM, they also include deficiencies in social communication, symptoms of early and child developmental period, symptoms cause significant social impairment, and the disturbances are not explained by other diagnoses. Autism spectrum disorder is known as a hidden disorder. As many people have it, they are not labeled because they're afraid of stigma. I wanted to share you with this quote. Temple Grandin is probably the most famous person with autism. She is an animal psychologist at Colorado State U, and she had a movie and published many books about her life and her research. And she says that autism is fundamentally who they are, who she is. And from this, we have to remember that we can't label people with their diagnosis, and they are who they are. So the cost and prevalence of ASD. So the current prevalence rate for Canadians is 1 in 94. This is equated to 37,000 Canadians across the country. In the States, it's even more, it's 1 in 54, and the numbers are currently rising. It costs over $60,000 on average a year to raise an individual with autism. Can anyone guess how much that would equate to 18 years? It's over $1 million. $1 million. Can anyone guess how much it would cost for a lifetime? Over $3 million. And these are just quantifiable. There are emotional and human costs which are uncalculable when raising someone with autism. You can refer to the last slide about the recent publications about it. Like again, these stats are just numbers, but what is it actually like to have ASD, or to live with someone, or have a family member with autism spectrum disorder? I have these exercises that I hope that will help illustrate the lived experience. The first example is the facial expression exercise. So in this exercise, I want you to make a friend, maybe someone beside you, someone behind you, and I want you to choose a couple of these expressions on the slide. I want you to express them without using any words. And after you do a couple, I want you to challenge yourself and try to cover the bottom half of your face under your cheekbone and try to do it again and see how it feels. So I'll give you a minute. Not much time, so it's going to go along. So, can I ask you guys, what do you think what was the easiest motion was to display? What was the easiest one that you could have? Raise your hand, anybody? Okay, how about which do you think was the most difficult? Anybody? Raise your hand. We have prizes. Yes. Offended. Give that woman a t-shirt. How did it feel like hiding your face? Yes.
Misunderstood.
Misunderstood. Did anyone else feel frustrated?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. How about anything else? That's okay. As you can see, displaying these emotions may be easy for you, but imagine someone with ASD who cannot fully express themselves or cannot fully interpret social cues such as facial expression, tone, and social context, which is very vital for communication in our day-to-day lives and deciphering the social world. Nobody really teaches us how to act. There's no party 101, there's no how to act in class or anything. We learn by taking part in social programs, in leisure and play, in many different settings. And at the same time, we act differently with different people as well. You may act differently from your parents and at this conference, for example. Okay, the second exercise is a sensory sensitivity exercise. I'm going to ask you guys to be quiet or remain silent for 40 seconds, and we're going to listen to the room, and you're going to tell me what kind of distractions are in this room. So we're going to start now. what did you guys hear in this room? Yes. Pardon?
Like
All right. What else?
this guy drinking his water very loud.
Yep.
People outside.
Mm-hmm.
Fan.
Yep. The back. Coughing. Okay. So, did anyone else hear any other distractions? How about smells, or how about the temperature? Anybody? Yes.
Very strong.
Very strong. What else? Cold. It's a little cold in this room. So when we're quiet, these noises and distractions are very prominent. Imagine what these noises, if these noises were prominent all the time. In class, in restaurants, even here. How would they affect your attention, and how would they affect your life? In addition, they may have other sensory oversensitivities, including touch, smell, and taste. An individual with ASD may have many distractions and result to be overstimulated. They may get irritated or uninterested, and they may be processing information and may act out accordingly. It's important to remember that these behaviors may not be because they're angry or they're upset at you. It may be because they're rooted in the environmental stimuli. When I went to Western, I found that there was a huge community of young students who are passionate about autism. This spurred me to create Autism Awareness at Western, where people who have ASD and supporters can confide in each other. I'm going to share this video, and I'll ask what you guys think about it.
My first experience with autism was in high school when I taught a child.
My family. My brother is autistic.
My mom's been working in autism community since before I was even born.
My uncle has autism.
My older brother, actually, he passed away, but he was autistic.
When I was 7 years old, I was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome.
I was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome last August.
It's just kind of been a part of my life.
The first time, I guess I can say, I realized autism was a difference was when I started going to school.
I didn't realize what autism was. I didn't know what to define the word autism meant. To me, my brother was just my brother.
One of my best friends, the first person I ever met, had autism, and I didn't even know until later in life.
Couldn't relate to anybody and didn't really understand why the world seemed so terrible to me.
I do remember wondering why the kids in kindergarten gave me strange looks.
I would see the kids playing, and he would, be off on his own.
A big part of it came too when I joined this club last year. When I realized that there's a whole bunch of people, just even at this university, who have no idea what this is.
I remember being so fearful. I didn't understand it.
A lot of these children I work with have to adapt to our world and the way that we've set it.
There's a lot of places that are just horrible to be in. Restaurants because of the noise and the smells. Crowded buses are hard. Classrooms are sometimes hard.
What surprised me the most was the range of symptoms. It wasn't a universal trait.
They all have little quirky traits and kind of fun things that when you get to know, they're just the most incredible people.
People with Asperger's have trouble reading body language, making eye contact, and meeting new people.
I find sometimes when I'm just trying to understand people, they think I'm threatening them.
I guess seeing like my friends at school or even people walking down the street staring, they don't realize and they don't take the time to get to know these individuals.
My younger brother has autism. I had been dating my boyfriend for 3.5 years, and we broke up a few months ago. I kind of realized, I haven't told my younger brother. Then he just kind of sat there and kind of absorbed it and let it sink in. He just looked at me and he just said, "I would fall in love with you."
I had been matched up with a little boy in Making Waves, and he was 5 years old, had autism, and also had a near drowning experience.
I can remember hanging out in the backyard of my friend's house and having fake weddings.
I had to move a table, so he was on the wall, and I had finally gotten him comfortable enough with the water that he could hold onto the wall by himself. I push the table underwater and I come up, and all I see is him on the wall, outstretched me being, Breno, I'll save you. With 100 lifeguards in the pool, he would have saved me before any other person would have.
He's my best friend ever in the whole world, and I love him so much.
I think there needs to be a big message that says not everybody that you're going to deal with is neurotypical. You can't just do the same thing to everyone, it's not going to work.
People took the time to kind of look past these stigmas and look past their fear they would meet these great people who are hilarious and so loving and so kind.
When I was finally able to get her to relax in the water and on the pool deck, like I was like in tears.
It was like breaking any barrier with any child.
Just be as accepting as possible, because oftentimes they just don't get to experience things.
Having been involved with Autism Awareness Western and having had a chance to meet people with autism, if you're hiding yourself from that world, you're missing out on so much.
Even though my diagnosis will never fade away, I finally realized that I am not alone.
Every autistic individual that has been in my life has been an amazing person.
Autism's always been a part of my life, and I wouldn't really have it any other way.
Something kind of clicked and I realized everybody else isn't autistic. And I was like, okay, now I think I might be able to get around the world.
So I want to ask you guys, what do you guys think of this video? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Matt.
Emotional and moving.
Thank you. Anything else? Yeah.
It's real.
It is. What I really liked about this video is sort of shows the two sides of the coin. We see family members and close friends living with autism at the same time. We see people with autism competing in a very high school, just like Western, in a highly competitive environment, academic environment. So they're just like us, in the same struggles, just like us. Now you know why I advocate for autism, but let me tell you why I started ATV and why adolescents. In my 10 years working in the community with Parks and Recreation, running recreational programs, grew up with my family, these are the specific challenges I see in this population, in Canada as a whole. So the challenges of increased social demands, higher expectations for independence, changing needs, puberty and bullying, and they become more aware of what autism and how they're different. They become more vulnerable to social isolation, depression, self-harm, and apathy, as if puberty was enough. And number two, the lack of resources available to young adults with this transition and the lack of support and services for them. These supports usually deplete after 12 years old, which is sad because, like I said, this is when they need it the most. They have lots of comorbid disorders and diagnoses as young adults, including obsessive-compulsive disorder, anxiety disorder, and schizophrenia. One of my colleagues does a research at Sick Kids in Toronto, and one of her subjects with autism and other comorbid disorders visited the ER 5 times in 3 days related to psychiatric issues. So this does have a real impact on primary health care. The current formal structure results in lost, fragmented, and fatigued families. This represents a large gap of support. As nursing students, we understand that thriving is not just the absence of physiological problems. We must develop preventative upstream supports for these young adults to realize their full potential. There are also many nursing implications to what I do. We identify social determinants of health and make active support to be addressed. And instead of waiting for someone to do it, we took it into our own hands and did it ourselves. We use principles of strength-based nursing, where I was able to tap into my expertise with recreation to create these recreation programs. We demonstrated community support, not just through building capacity with the participants, but also through the volunteers. We showed that we don't need these fancy degrees to create these community-based supports. And this allows the participants to develop their own social support networks. We identify the at-risk population, adolescents with ASD, and the bullying, social isolation, social deficits, sensory needs, and academic challenges that goes along with it. And of course, we are adapting and integrating these special needs programs into mainstream community centers, which is a big advocacy piece in what we do. When supporting individuals, it's important to consider the community and the environment surrounding them. When you guys think of Toronto, what do you guys usually think of? Yeah, concrete. It's usually a little bit dirtier than this. Also large buildings. You may also think of the hopeless Maple Leafs. Actually, just this past couple of months, there was this whole Jersey gate where fans actually got charged with mischief by throwing their jersey, and even the premier of BC had something to say about it. But this is my Toronto. Toronto is the 5th largest municipality in North America. There's over 6 million people in the Greater Toronto area. It's known to be pretty damn expensive and a very vibrant community. We also have a controversial ex-mayor. Our motto is "Our diversity is a strength," and my program runs out of Scarborough right here, which is known to be inner suburb. 60% of these people in Scarborough is not born in Canada, so it's an extra layer of cultural support that we have to provide, and a pretty high, like a relatively high poverty rate compared to the rest of the city. It's mostly underserved, and many of them have to travel to different areas of the city for support. And if you've ever driven across Toronto, you know what I'm talking about. I work at a Milliken Park Community Recreation Center for my program, and this is a place I've been working for the past 10 years. And they understand why I do it, and they trust my expertise of my program. So the model of my program is a peer-to-peer model where they recognize where teens usually interact with older adults and isolated at home. At the same time, our volunteers gain experience with autism spectrum disorder in their own practice. Our training, we collaborate with Autism Ontario and the City of Toronto for training because we recognize that as students, we lack experience and expertise in this thing. So we're able to pool together all the community resources for net good and equip us for ATP. We are a free and accessible program and non-academic, which means we don't have any stress associated to what we do. We allow time and understanding and space to be themselves. Unlike traditional supports, there's no pressure to perform and accepting to everyone. As we find that many, again, are isolated at home and no close friends. We also provide parents with networking opportunities. We run team building, social programs such as sports, video games, and special events for Halloween holidays. We focus on life skills such as cooking, we do discussion pieces, and even socialization strategies with our participants. Here's another, I'm being led by 2 participants in this experience, and a couple of volunteers. In addition, we have an advisor, Dr. Jonathan Weiss, who's a clinical psychologist at York, and he's currently the CHR Chair of Autism ASD Treatment and Research. Again, we recognize that we're students, and using our networks, we're able to tap into the expertise available to us. So here's some feedback from our participants. They think it's a great place, their second home, a place where people can believe in you, and they just love it. I'd like to share this parent and family feedback video. This is Joan. She's a 38-year-old woman. Her husband is usually absent in caregiving duties, and she's also a new immigrant with 2 children. One child has ASD. He goes for therapy for over 35 hours a week, and you can imagine the isolation and seclusion to her son, the hardship to the family. This is what she had to say about our program.
Pretty love this program since I trained from in the summertime, and Amanda also enjoyed it because she can play the part behind it. So since Rachel come here, he's always looking forward to come out the next week, and I think he feels enriched and he feels more confident about himself, and he feels he has somewhere to belong to himself. Yeah, he likes this program and everybody knows in our family, and I think he found himself somewhat here. But I don't know exactly what it is, but it still works.
Yeah, we totally see him coming out of the shell from the first week, especially.
Yeah.
So it's really good.
Yeah. So I was a little, I was quite worried if his behavior is going to interfere with the program, but so far it worked out pretty fine and it's amazing.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
We also received a bunch of letter supports from our parents. They said, it's a great place where they benefit from the older brother, older sister dynamic with volunteers rather than older people, and accessible and free in their local community. They make connections, with their neighborhood friends. We also have a couple of videos for feedback for volunteers. This is my good friend and volunteer Henry. He's a recent nursing graduate from York and currently works in public health in the GTA.
So I love working with ATP because, first of all, you're making a big difference. You get to be mentors and friends to teens who participate in this program, and it's a great place to just let them be themselves. They can socialize. We encourage them to just communicate, make new friends, and be like a normal teenager, a normal kid, and just have a good time. Another reason why I love working with ATP is because the staff is fantastic. Every week they come up with great programs that are not only fun, but also really engaging and help develop different skills. From playing sports and getting some physical exercise to playing board games, from cooking to arts and crafts. Like we've made rubber band cars and toothpick marshmallow towers in the past weeks and months, and that's been a great time. And third of all, it's been really rewarding just for me. I'm always learning continuously every week when I'm working with different teens. And personally, I haven't had a lot of experience with autism, so it's been really interesting to just work with these people, these individuals firsthand, while working with a great staff. And it's also really applicable to my own practice as a nurse in the community, just learning how to build trust with all types of individuals and building relationships with others.
I have another video from my colleague and classmate, Ling, and she's going to talk.
Hi, my name is Lei, and I volunteer for the Autism Team Partnership Program. This program has become an important part of the participants' lives and something they look forward to every week. It has also impacted my life as a student nurse. I gained exposure and experience working with people with autism through this program. It has improved my communication skills, which is an important aspect of the clinical setting. I learned to individualize care for each patient because every person is different. I learned to be patient and to try to understand who my clients are as a person and not by their diagnosis. The people I met through the Autism Team Partnership Program and the skills I learned and discovered will have a huge impact on my future as a nurse.
We've also received great feedback from the eyes of the public through the media. So if you guys know Doris Grinsprin, which is the chief of the Registered Nurses Association of Ontario, she's a full supporter of what we do, and she even called us our inspiration. We also publish in the Faculty of Health, and they are very supportive. And we also have a Facebook page with over 250 likes, and you guys can be the next one. As well, we are featured in the RNAO Region 7 newsletter, and we are featured in a mental health blog being run by Jonathan Weiss, the researcher. And here is our blog that we update frequently. Now, I am currently looking forward to McLean's. Just a couple of days ago, I had an interview with McLean's. I'll be doing a photo shoot when I come back to Toronto, and you can expect something to be published in the University Guide edition, published in March. So I just wanted to share my journey through making this program. So like I said, it's just been a year planning this program, and we've only been running for 7 months. I want to show you what one student can accomplish with 1 year. So we established partners with Autism Ontario, York University, Milken Advisory Council, and the RNAO. Not just for financial, but also in-kind and tangible support. The support goes beyond the money. It goes to advice, training, networking opportunities, facility rent, equipment, exposure, media releases, insurance, and even more. And also, I've also been had the privilege to have multiple speaking engagements and many more informal. But I just want to highlight a couple. In 2014, I was able to speak at the Ontario regional meetings in Vancouver, and I told them what I wanted to do. In Peterborough, in the 2014 Ontario Regional Conference, I was able to host a workshop to tell what I've done so far and what I've done throughout the summer. And today, at Regina, I'm able to tell you guys and share what I want to do with the future. So I'm so thankful for CNSA for these great opportunities. Keep being awesome. This is my publication timeline, and every single one of these timelines, every single one of these publications is through your network, so it really shows what you can do with a big network. It helps promote us, not only our program, but also gives us legitimacy as we are students. They provided non-tangible assets of networking. Even McLean's was a product through York University. And you'd be surprised, but most publications love talking about students and young people. So I'm going to share about a little bit of the lessons learned through the past year. So with this program, I found that you have to have a certain degree of humility and embrace sort of the lifelong learner mentality as we go and we continue to develop and we learn as we do. After 1 year and 7 months with this program, I learned that soft skills are, as if not more important than classroom learning. You know, things like finance, budget, volunteer management, working with students, which is difficult, being able to sell yourself and your initiative through emails and meetings, and follow up in proposal writing. But I found what the most important skill of all is being tenacious in your networking. It opens many doors, and there was a time last year when this program was starting where I went to my faculty and knocked on every single door to anyone who would listen and anyone who would get support. Students are usually known to be passionate, but they often fail to follow up. So being steadfast in your ways and persistence is really key to success. Having high expectation, number 2, for yourself and your colleagues is also really good. It widens your scope and your impact of your initiative. Sam Walton, the founder of Walmart, once said, "High expectations are the key to everything." It's important as students that we stay hungry for change and steadfast in your cause to make the biggest change possible. Number 3, expand your vision. Think of the bigger picture. Again, to widen your scope of impact, I find students have a very narrow scope. You know, they usually focus on awareness, and programs usually die after people graduate and move on to their real lives. I find the best thing is taking projects to the next level, and always to the next level, always to a bigger stage, and always focus on longevity for upstream solutions for actual problems in our community. Number 3, creating something from scratch is incredibly rewarding. Being able to look back and say, I did this, feels really great. There's no hidden agendas. We're not a research group or anything. And you have your own boss or manager. You get to work with the people who you want to and take it at your own pace. You're not tied up by bureaucracy, and you're able to achieve something with a relatively modest budget. So with our program, we're able to achieve, for $2,000, able to stretch it for 6 months. We're able to do it with a relatively modest budget. And at the same time, we're able to volunteer our time to benefit these teens. So this leads us to this question. How do we, as nursing students, enact social change? I like this quote from 80,000hours.com. It's sort of a nonprofit incubator that says, you've got 80,000 hours in your career. How can you use them to solve the world's most pressing problems? And there's no reason why we can't start as nursing students. We're at an advantage point as nursing students. We're young, passionate, idealistic, and willing to change the status quo. I really believe that it's up to us to take on risks on addressing gaps in care head on, rather than waiting for them to happen. Not through social media, by liking or Instagram or something. That can bring awareness, but think, does this really enact change? I feel as nursing students, we can shake and defy the millennial stereotype as lazy, everything handed to us, and self-centeredness that many people think we are. To actually find solutions to problems in our community and across the country and worldwide, to actually embody change for ourselves and in the world. To illustrate this, I have a diagram here. While traditionally we have attitudes shaping social change, I was able to demonstrate social change with my program to influence attitudes, and then down the line, stereotypes and policies and decisions being made. As a young person, I often felt powerless to the powers of society and autism. The goal of this presentation is to share my experience of how I was able to embody change through my family and community work in the context of nursing to motivate me and advocate to serve the vulnerable in my own community. The future directions of ATP is number 1, to continue to advocate for accessible recreation programs for adolescents with ASD. This includes speaking engagements like this one and running ATP frequently. I could talk about this for hours. 40 minutes is not enough. And if you want a speaker at your local chapter, please contact me. Also, number 2 is the development of a toolkit to equip young people across the country to implement and start their own autism teenage partnerships. Like I said, you don't need fancy degrees to run this program. I've done it myself as a full-time student while having a part-time job. And we need to continue to support community projects like this to help realize potential for this population and healthy development for them to be thriving adults. Now, before I ask questions or any comments, I'd like to share this quote from Albert Pine, a famous British author. I hope you appreciate that he's not a nurse, because probably get that a lot. And he says, what we do for ourselves dies with us. What we do for others in the world remains and is immortal. This has sort of been the model for not only ATP, but also my young nursing career. I have run many social programs with my job and Parks and Recreation, but this is so much more special to me. We get to serve a very vulnerable community that is at risk and near to my heart. People come from all across the city, 40 minutes, just to come out and hang for us for a couple hours. This validates us and motivates us to continue to serve this community as we make a difference in the lives of participants, parents, volunteers, and caregivers. And these are my acknowledgements, and thank you so much.